Welcome to this weekly tarot reading for inner healing. This week is all about regaining our feminine power and leaning more into our subconscious. Let's dive in. So as always, the first question is going to be, what is this week here to teach us? Oh, interesting. We got the Empress. So the Empress is all about actually a very feminine card, going into our feminine side. It's also about abundance and maybe a lot of the things that are more kind of on the creative side and feeling part of that and feeling the creative flow. It's often linked to fertility, not necessarily in terms of like having children, but in terms of creating and being part of that creation. But I don't know about you, this sweet little Empress actually looks a little sad. And so I'm wondering if the week's lesson is also to remember that you are part of the bigger picture, that you are part of the creation. I know I've been reading a lot about this feeling that in the end, we are source energy and that we are part of the whole thing. And that like, it's not that God is outside of us or the universe or creation or spirit or however you want to call it, but that we are that and we're an expression of that. And I don't know about you, but I sometimes have a hard time feeling that, or I'm having a hard time understanding my part in that. And how can I be both like this completely, perfect or incredible force that is magical and able to do everything? And then how can I also be my individual self in that? And so actually this card is really resonating a lot with that for me in terms of like finding our place in the creation, in the abundance, in this kind of magical overflowing quality that the Empress has. And so that is what the week's lesson is. So what are your weaknesses to watch out for this week in terms of that? Oh, that's so funny. We got the Father of Pentacles. So it's interesting. I think that the weaknesses to watch out for are maybe the pull to more the masculine side, because we all have feminine sides and masculine sides inside of ourselves. And the Father of Pentacles is somebody who is very kind of grown through the Suit of Pentacles, which is all about, for sure, money and finances, but also things that are meaningful and very important, but that aren't quick fixes that you don't just like have with a snap of the finger. And so to me, it's also about being careful not to be almost like too concerned with the physical part, or like, it's like this is all about like what we've maybe acquired so far and how we've kind of like mastered a lot of perhaps like resources that make us feel comfortable and safe. But maybe sometimes those resources and everything that we've kind of acquired can actually make us then feel like that we can't take risks, that we can't maybe be more in that creative flow and being more flowy and less, like fixed and kind of like very straight, very kind of like stable and very kind of like strict almost. So I like the image of this card. There's something, it's almost like also he's like on that stool, giving him a little bit more height. But so yeah, that's the thing to watch out for. I'd say it's maybe the pull towards security and wanting to like feel the stability of everything that you've created in your life. So what can we lean into? What are our strengths that are helping us this week? Okay, wow, we got, interesting, the Moon, which is actually also another very more feminine card, because the sun is more masculine, it's more open, it's out in the air and everything is seen. But the Moon is all about our subconscious. It's a night scene. It has that more feminine, more secretive stuff, the like intuition or subconscious. And the Moon is actually about actually being able to tune into our intuition. It's almost like in the moonlight, we can't always see things as clearly as we can in the sun. And so we have to dive deep more inside, maybe dive into our more flowy qualities, the things that are less stable, the things that are more wanting to just be flowy. And so our strengths this week is that we have that capacity, and that we have the capacity to actually choose to be able to see when we can't see clearly in the moonlight, to go inside and be able to use our inner strength. I also think actually it's interesting to note again with that idea that like we are part of a bigger something, that we are one, but we are also an individual. I think this is such a perfect image for that, because it's like we are part of the universe and we are part of this whole bigger system. And yet we're also a little cat looking up at it. And I find that's really reassuring to lean into also just the imagery of this card, which is just reminding us that it's not that you have to choose either or. It's you can both be source and spirit and also an individual expression of it. And I think it's about finding that good mix between the two. So to end this reading, I want to just pick a card on what is a message of love from your higher self or your guides for this week as you're growing into your feminine side, learning to be more creative, learning to go into that abundance. Interesting, we got the Nine of Wands. And the Nine of Wands is all about being resilient, and actually it's kind of like the last stance. The nine is like almost at the end of the whole series, like 1 to 10. And so it's almost like you need to be on one last stand before you can kind of relax. And I love this card in this deck, though. It's almost like these flowers are what is protecting this little cat, like almost helping him have the defense that he needs. And it's all the things that he has planted. And so again, I don't think it's about throwing away everything that you've created. I think it's about maybe using those things in a more maybe natural way, because the Empress is also about nature and kind of like everything that's like linked to your senses. And so I think it's also just about remembering that, yes, it's important to have stability, but you can use your stability and you can use it in maybe a more organic way. And so it's about maybe defending your more feminine side and that need to be able to flow and to be creative and to maybe take some risks, but also with that whole notion of fertility and abundance there. So on that, I'm wishing you lots of love and lots of laughter for this week, and I'll see you next week. Thanks so much for watching.